Dear Thai, dear Sangha, dear wonderful community, it's lovely to be cozy together in the Upper Hamlet Hall. Today is the 21st of October. We're in the middle of our 3-month retreat, and some of you are here for the whole 3 months, and some are here for a shorter time. And this is one of the few times during this retreat where we offer a panel for question and answers, and we should say responses rather than answers, because there's never a definitive answer. There's always an exploration, and So, this is the way we do. Is we invite you to come on the hot seat here, and you can also, even you're not English speaking, you can ask a question in your language, and there are headphones that the answers will be in English, I think, for us, because we're English-speaking panel, and also for the main audience. But you can ask your question in your language, it will be translated, and you can listen to your answer translated. I see we also have some young ones among us, and I wonder if one of them wants to open with a question. I'll just say the spirit of the question and answers is very much that we are supporting each other as a spiritual family. And so your question, although it's really feels like it's really your personal issue, it's your thing, it actually for sure is going to be very beneficial for other people, because we all share something of a common human experience, and we can connect with you when you share. So we're with you, supporting you with your question. We ask for questions of the heart, questions that connect with what is happening in your life, and how you see the practice, the question of how to practice with this. So our tradition and the teachings of mindfulness and the mindful way of living, the art of looking deeply, we offer our responses based on that wisdom, knowledge, and our experience. So I'd like to introduce the panel. Venerable Sister Nghiem, Sister Gina. She's looking the most fresh among us, although she's the most older of the sisters of the panel. And then there is Sister Thang, and myself, Brother Phap, and this is Brother Phap Khoi. So, we're from Upper Hamlet. Sister Gina is staying in New Hamlet, and Sister Thang from Lower Hamlet. Also new, yeah. Yeah, Sister Gina's reminding me she's from the Lower Hamlet, but she's having a sabbatical in the New Hamlet. She's supporting the New Hamlet, yeah. And, okay, so without further ado, I'd like to invite people to come to sit on the chair and ask the question. There is a microphone for you here, and when you ask your question, we have a sound of the bell, so you can really connect in with yourself, and then after the sound of the bell you address your question, and to remember that the question is for all of us, And yeah, thank you.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, my name is Lisanne from Berlin, and I have a mother who's 85 years old. She's still actively participating in life. And she just heard from the doctors that she has cancer, a very aggressive cancer. And I'm very lucky that I'm practicing and looking after myself with a meditation. And I'd also like to support my mother. And there are two issues. One is that she's very fearful about the pain before dying. And also she asked me that there must be something after death. And she's very Catholic, but she said there must be some energy after death. And next time when I visit her, I like to help her and talk about these issues she raised. And I wanted to ask you how I can support her.
When we're at the bedside or living next to somebody who is facing illness or death, this also makes us aware of our own well-being and our own impermanence, death. If we want to be of help, then we have to look into our own relationship with death. Are we afraid ourselves? Then how can we practice with that fear in order to have calm and stability to be able to be with the fear of the other person, whoever that is? Because they pick up on our energy. Whatever words we may say, but they will know whether they come from, what kind of place within us they come from. So to look at our own fear, and in particular fear of death, and all spiritual traditions offer a teaching on what happens when you die. It's a life issue that all spiritual traditions address. So to look at our fear, and fear is always fear of the unknown. We are afraid of things we do not know, or we think we do not know. When we know something, and we know what it is like, we know exactly what it is like, at least we know what we will encounter. So if we want to be of a support to someone who is very concretely facing death, we need to take care of our fear. I need to take care of our fear. And fear is with something that will happen next, in the future or further away future. If we are established in the here and the now, we can see exactly what is happening right now in ourselves and around us. And we will be able, with the practice, to be with what is happening in ourselves and around us. So we need to have the practice of going back to ourselves, having our breathing as a refuge, something we can go back to and find peace and calm. When we encounter fear, and it is as an emotion in our mind, we have the practice of like breathing in and becoming aware that fear is present, and breathing out and calming the fear. Yeah. When I practice that, I don't find it always easy to do it, whether it's fear or any other strong emotion. So when I encounter, let's say, fear in myself, I do go back to my breath, but I bring also my attention to my body. You know, the breathing is a function of the body. When I become aware of my breathing, I can at the same time become aware of my body. And I know that what's in my mind is also in my body. So then I go to my body and sort of check where is this emotion expressing itself as a physical sensation in my body. And I find it easier to bring my attention to that physical sensation and to breathe with that physical sensation. When I breathe with it, when I keep my attention there, I am not writing a scenario or something. I am just with the physical sensation. And my experience is then it will calm or melt, if you like. Yeah? And when it's calmed in my body, it's also calmed in my mind. Yeah? And then I can see more clearly what is happening around me, and I can respond better to what is happening around me. I've been at the bedside of friends who were, in their last moments of their life, and or days, and I've been there, and I've not done anything, just be and be present. And if at any point some emotion came up, to breathe with it and calm it in the way I just shared with you. So once when I was present with a neighbor who was also critically ill, and the husband used to call one of us to come and be with his wife, he said he always wanted one of us to be there. I was living in a practice center, so there were some other monastics to be at her side, because he said whenever one of us is there, his wife is very calm and also peaceful when he comes back. So with the other monastics we had a sharing about what do we do. And we realized we're all more or less doing the same thing, just being and not being afraid. Yeah, because taking care of our own fear. You may also help your mother to do the same, to see if she can, first yourself, you have to be able to do it yourself, and then help your mother or the person we're sitting next to do the same thing, to find calm and peace. If we have calm and peace when we are alive, then we will be able to die peacefully without fear. Thank you. Yeah. My brother asked me to say something about pain. Okay. So whether it's a mental pain or a physical pain, I tend to take care of it in the same way. I have had also physical pain, and I have cared for it in the same way. I realized when I have a pain, I want the pain to go away. And in some way, it is not very kind to the organ that is suffering. It is kind of saying to that organ, I don't like you in this way. You know, I don't want you to be this way. When I realized that, I decided to change. And I remembered that Thai teaches us, when we have suffering, we need to take it into our arms like a crying baby to calm it down. So that's actually the foundation of the practice also I just shared with you. So I decided to do the same thing with the part of my body that was hurting. Instead of getting a little bit maybe angry with that part, or at least not wanting it to be that way, I would bring my attention to that part of my body and really hold it and say in my mind, I love you too. And you may be there the way you are. I will do my best to take care of you, but I love you too. And with all the pain that is there, the way you are, I love you. And in that way, I was able to be with the pain, and at times it also calmed down. At the same time, I also had some treatment. Yeah. But it gave me peace of mind and the strength to be what was happening in my mind and in my body.
Dear community, this question stays since last winter retreat. Beginning of the last winter retreat. My question is, how can I love? How can I love Hitler part in me? How can I don't blame genocide, violent, unkind part in me? How can I love? How can I understand Hitler? How can I be compassionate to Hitler part in me? Thank you.
Just in case you didn't hear the meaning, Mina shared, how can she love the Hitler part in her? As in Hitler representing violence, genocide, kind of thing. So recognizing that there is that aspect in us, how can we love and not blame that part?
Dear respected Thai, dear friends, in all of us, there's mixed seeds of good and not so good. So what our friends have asked is, how can we love, have compassion for the parts in us that are not unwholesome? The thing is, we have to take a look and see that there are wholesome parts in us. It's not just all the unwholesome seeds, violence, and others. So we start by recognizing the beauty in ourselves. This is very important. It's a positive thinking. So when we practice, don't look at the negative, look at the positive parts. In you, the good things you do, your friends, your environment. Look at the beauty of life. With that, then it's easier for you to accept. Because you're accepting and not accepting is a conflict. It should not be a conflict. And all of us, we have everything. Just like you, I also have all these seeds of wholesome and unwholesome seeds. So first by recognizing them, recognizing that beauty, then you make it flourish. You nourish what is beautiful inside you. So when you think, when you contemplate, it's always the good things that come up from the mind. Not the bad things, not the regrets, but always the compassion, the love you care for yourself and others. And so as you're practicing that, then things will become more beautiful, more pretty. That is changing the way you look at life. Otherwise, when you look at life, everything will be black and dark. And when you look at yourself, it's also black and dark, and you cannot accept it. So learn to look at the different perspective. Look at life as it is, so beautiful. And then, as you're practicing with that, once in a while you will recognize, yes, in you there's unwholesome seeds. That's okay. We don't nourish it. We don't feed it more energy. We just recognize it. And then we come back to the beauty in ourselves. And everyone is beautiful. We all are beautiful. So look at it in that perspective. And that will help you to be able to embrace the parts that you seem not so wholesome. Later on you will realize they are the same. Everything in you is wholesome. It's how you nourish, how you bring it out in your terms of action, body action, in terms of your speech, in terms of the way you think. So I hope that helped.
Dear Thai, dear community, my question is about the future in the kingdom of present moment. I stayed in Plum village since almost 1 year, and now I have a question in myself about what is my aspiration outside, what is my goal in this life, and it's not clear. I feel I have some fear about future, and also I feel I will have some difficulty to keep the practice, and I would like to understand and have more clarity in the way I make choice now. Because I feel many thoughts come from my mind, and I have difficulty to listen my heart, and I feel I would like to find a balance, and to listen more my heart, to plant seed for my future activity and the next years, you know. Is it clear? It's not very clear for me, so. So in my mind, I'm a little bit, I would say, perfectionist, and I want to find the right path. Just the day after I leave privilege. No, it's a joke, but just at the, you know, to follow this path, you know, and to don't lose myself like I was before, you know, and to go on from this energy, you know, of open and yeah. And I feel there is also a balance between letting go of just follow the life, you know, but at the same time I feel I have the power to plant seed and to decide something. So I have to find balance also with this, and it's also a question for me. How I can, you know, do both.
So, dear friends, I just want to summarize and make it clear. Our friends is leaving soon out there in the world, and he's worried. How can he keep the practice as he's going out, venture out to this new world out there outside Plum Village? And he wants to think ahead, plan ahead to keep the practice so that way it will be balanced with life out there. So that is, in general, his question is, how can he continue the practice and be solid when he's out there, leaving this safe place?
Yeah, sorry, I prefer to be clear because it's the first time I ask a question, so my question is really about my aspiration, you know, what I can bring to the world, in my life, and what choice I can do for my future, like the work, family, the place I live, all this kind, and how I can see more clearly the choice I can make. You understand? In fact, it's like I am on a road, and there is many paths, and I have to plant seed and decided, okay, I will choose maybe several paths, not only one, but you know, to find the right action, you know. Is it more clear?
Good morning, dear Thầy, dear family, brother. Confucius said that if we can choose what we love, then we don't have to work even an hour in our life. Choose to do what we love, then we don't have to work for even an hour in our life. At this moment is a little bit unclear for you, just like the weather out there perhaps, foggy and a little bit dark. But we also know that maybe in midday or in the afternoon, the sun will come. And we will see many paths in front of us. So you just look and see which one you like, which one you love, and don't be afraid. Just walk, start with your first step with confidence. You are in the arms of the Sangha. You have faith to continue to go on a good path. The Sangha is behind you. You have the practice, a very beautiful practice of mindfulness, concentration and insight. And the Buddha taught us that the energy of mindfulness and concentration can help us to make a choice and also to lessen our suffering. So with the energy of the community practicing together, you say that maybe you have not yet had a chance to listen deeply to your heart, then do it. To your walking meditation, to your sitting meditation, eating meditation, noble silence, play with the brother and the sister, mindful service, everything. Do it with mindfulness, with joy. This is a very good environment and time for you to cultivate, to solidify your aspiration. And then when the sun comes, and then you see many paths, choose one and go for it. Choose one and go for it. And if we can embrace that love inside of our heart, then we know that we have a path, we have the practice, we have the Sangha, we have no fear, brother. Walking out of this community, facing the world outside, while you have been here for a year, coming back is a little bit afraid. We cannot avoid that. But if we keep that energy of love, of service in our heart, then I think that you can go strong. We learn and we practice how to love ourselves, because we know that if we don't love ourselves and take a good care of ourselves, then we cannot love other people and help other people. And with the mind of service, wherever you go, you will find friends. It's very easy to make friends if we have the mind of loving kindness and service. Come to offer our love, our joy to people. Come to offer our hand. Come to sit next to friends, to our loved one. And wherever we go, we have friends, we have family. And most of all, we know that this small, beautiful green planet is our home. So I say that we should solidify our walking meditation here, get in touch deeply with the earth, to get that energy from the earth, the energy of inclusiveness, of non-discrimination. And then wherever we go, we feel at home. So touch the earth when we walk, touch the earth when we practice touching the earth, touch the earth when we eat a piece of apple, touch the earth when you walk slowly into the meditation hall to pray. And you will see a clear path, and we all go together with you. Thank you.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, we have some written questions also. So maybe we choose one. So we maybe have a sound of the bell. So one question is, please can you share how to practice with frustration? Things are not how I want them to be, and I can't change things. I don't know if anybody sees themselves in that question. And there is also a question, how do I take care of my suffering without drowning in it, keeping a balance between being with it and not drowning in it? And there is also one, I'll read this last question. We may not be able to answer all of them, but we'll read them. If there is no separate self, does it mean that we don't have a soul? If there is no birth, no death, what is it that has always been there and will always remain? So I will respond to the question on how do I take care of my suffering without drowning in it, keeping a balance between being with it and not drowning in it. So, I think the answer to this question is somewhat in the question. The knowledge that one needs to not drown in the suffering in order to be able to be with it. If you are overwhelmed and drowning in it, you can't be with it in a way that is helpful. So it is necessary to have enough kind of perspective, enough space, enough kind of distance, so you can look and somehow have a sense of being you connected to the suffering, but it's not all of you. You can relate to it. You can have empathy. You know what it is. You're paying attention, but you're not. It's not drowning you. And in order to do this, we need to practice to generate the energy of mindfulness so that we have enough stability, enough calm in us to meet the situation like that. If you see that in fact you can't pay attention to that suffering without it overwhelming you, then you know you need to go to do more preparation for yourself to be able to have the capacity to be there. So going, just focusing your attention on the mindful practices of walking and being with your breath and not paying attention to the suffering. You've acknowledged it. I know you're there, and I'm definitely going to take care of you, but I need you to allow me to restore myself and get enough energy to be able to be with you. So you can kind of have a little negotiation with that part of you which is suffering, and ask that part of you to be patient while you generate some energy that you can go back to it with your solidity and your loving kindness. And these are the basic practices that we do in Plum Village. So giving yourself wholeheartedly into the basic practices of being mindful in our actions as we're walking around, taking time to just be with yourself, but being with the simple connection with your feet on the ground, with your breath, being with nature. And you gradually build up this energy that you need. So and then when you go back and you say, okay, I think I'm ready, maybe there is part of you that says, no, you're not ready. Or you look at the way you're going to relate to that suffering, and you're going in there with something that's not quite so, it's maybe you're fearful of it still. So if you notice that, you maybe need once again to come back to the basic practice, build up the energy, and only when you feel you can go to that suffering place and relate to it with loving kindness, very much as Sister Gina said, you're able to say sincerely, I love you too. I love that part of you too. And so you're not rejecting, wanting to suppress, wanting to run away from it, even wanting to transform it. But you're going there with openness, curiosity, and kindness, and saying, hello, dear suffering, I'm here for you. So you can truly be there as in the sense of like you would for a friend who was suffering, and you offer your stability to that friend by sitting with them and being present for them. And and if at some point you begin to feel overwhelmed again, then you say, I've reached my limit. If you can even ask that suffering part of you not to overwhelm you, and maybe they agree. That part of you says, okay, I won't overwhelm you, but you in saying that, you give full permission for that suffering part to be there, but just request, please don't overwhelm me, otherwise I can't be with you. If you drown me, I can't be with you and can't take care. So that's the kind of conversation you can have. But if you do feel the overwhelm, you immediately go back to your breath, come back to the present moment, open your eyes, remind yourself where you are in the present moment, and just touch what is simple, what is here and now. You are here, you are safe, you are in your body. Come back to your breathing, and knowing that the emotion just will calm, and when you're back in that solid place, So it's like that. You see how much you can take at any one time, and gradually like that you will make progress to be able to be with what is there. And when we say transformation, it's not that you transformed it so much as by being with it, it had a chance to express, it had a chance to realign itself and reintegrate with you, and you will get actually wisdom and benefit. You won't feel like you, So this is a kind of attitude, non-dualistic attitude we have to the practice. So that's one of the questions. Maybe now we turn to our friend on the chair, and we can have one more sound of the bell before you ask your question.
Bonjour à tous. Je vous remercie pour toutes ces informations qui sont très enrichissantes pour moi. C'est la première fois que je viens ici et je découvre la méditation en pleine conscience. Et je voulais vous poser une question par rapport à votre pratique religieuse. C'est quelque chose qui m'a toujours embêtée par rapport aux religions, pas juste celles que vous pratiquez, c'est quelque chose d'assez commun. Quand vous parlez de mauvaises graines, alors peut-être que j'ai pas très bien compris, mais dans mon esprit, quand on parle de mauvaises graines ou bonnes graines, cela suppose qu'il y ait une part, entre guillemets, sale ou pas bonne en nous. Et je trouve que cette manière de voir les choses est très péjorative, dans le sens où quels que soient nos défauts, nos comportements inadaptés, ils sont plutôt inadaptés sur le moment. À mon sens, les défauts, les comportements négatifs...
Je vais juste essayer de te traduire un petit peu, juste parce que sinon ça va être difficile de tout... Tu veux bien ?
Oui.
Merci. C'était pas prévu, on vient de me donner un micro, donc il faut que j'essaye de...
Est-ce que je dois répéter ?
Ça va aller. Mais si tu comprends un peu l'anglais, tu peux me corriger si c'est pas juste. Dear Thai, dear friends, I will try to translate a little bit. First of all, our friend, she's new here. She's here for the first time, and she's very grateful to the whole informations and teachings she's receiving. And she has a question about the bad seeds. So something we can find in several religions. She said that we used to say there's bad things and good things. So we had bad seeds, nice seeds in ourselves. And she was saying also that in her experience we can have, for example, in one moment in our life, wrong behavior, but that doesn't mean that we are a bad person or we have this bad aspect in ourselves. So she tried to explain a little bit more about that. So I will listen more and maybe I can give you more, a little bit more.
Donc, par rapport au comportement négatif, moi j'appellerais ça plutôt des comportements inadaptés, des défauts qui, au cours de notre vie, ont pu pu avoir une fonction.
So she said that these negative behaviors, she will say more inappropriate behaviors, and those shortcomings we have in our life. Yeah, let's see.
C'est-à-dire que les comportements inadaptés sur le moment ont pu avoir une fonction par le passé. Et par des automatismes, ils sont encore présents et ils durent.
So those inappropriate behaviors have can in the past they had a function, for example, to protect us or something like that, and so it's not inappropriate; it's inadequate. And so.
Tu peux continuer?
Et donc finalement, je ne pense pas que ce soit des mauvaises graines, mais plutôt des comportements qui ont pu être adaptés par le passé et qui sont devenus inadaptés lorsque la situation a changé.
So I don't feel that these behaviors, when maybe adequate for the time being when we did it, when we put the action, but later they became inadequate. But it's not necessarily bad. This is why it's different than inappropriate if it's inadequate and it was maybe adequate at that particular moment.
Et donc je voudrais savoir qu'est-ce que vous mettez derrière le mot mauvaise graine.
So I'd like to know, what is it that you put behind the word bad seeds or unwholesome seeds?
En sachant que paradoxalement, d'après ce que j'ai compris, vous dites que nous sommes tous bons, etc. Mais vous parlez des mauvaises graines et du coup, je trouve ça contradictoire. Donc peut-être que j'ai pas bien compris ce que vous mettez derrière ce terme.
So maybe I didn't understand clearly what you put behind the term bad or unwholesome seeds, but I feel there's maybe a little bit of a contradiction or a paradox there, because we also talk about being wholly, like being good, being like fully good. So maybe to have a little bit more of a clarification on this thing that might seem like a paradox there. Thank you.
Et j'ajouterais juste une dernière chose. Alors, et peut-être inconsciemment, quand on pense aux mauvaises graines, on se dit « Ah, j'ai des mauvaises graines en moi et c'est ça qui me fait souffrir et comment je vais faire pour m'en débarrasser, etc. » Alors que peut-être il n'y en a tout simplement pas, c'est juste qu'on a des automatismes inadaptés et qu'on doit juste essayer d'être plus adapté. Voilà, je vous remercie.
And maybe just to add a last thing is that maybe, and unconsciously, if we think of bad seeds, we might think that when we see them coming up, we may think, oh, I'm a bad person, and this is bad, what is happening here? Was actually, it may just be an inadequate behavior at that very moment. Yeah. Thank you.
Sister Gina asked me to summarize. So essentially, there has been this term, unwholesome seeds, wholesome seeds, and there is some confusion about that because it seems to divide things into good and bad. But in the experience of our friend, even things that could have been called bad or unwholesome, she sees that they were the best response that could be made given a situation in the past. And now maybe there can be a better response. But it doesn't mean that, it was bad as such. So the question about the difference, our use of the word unwholesome, wholesome, and is there a way to think about it which doesn't create that division in our mind between good and bad, and maybe therefore judgments. Yeah. I think does that resonate? Okay. So since I have the microphone, I just share a bit that there is a lot of wisdom in the question. When we use the word unwholesome, wholesome, maybe we're noticing seeds that tend to give rise to suffering, tend to give rise to unbeneficial results, and seeds that are more likely to bring happiness and freedom. It's important for us not to put this judgment on ourselves about these things, about having these seeds. So there was also in Phap Khoi's answer about the Hitler seed. Also said, you recognize it, and you don't judge yourself for that, but you pay attention to what you need to do to take care, and also to grow the seeds that will give rise to happiness and freedom. And it is very true that in the way we can reflect on our behavior, both in the past and present, and other people's behavior, we can be sure that if we really understand that person and that person's conditions deeply enough, we will be able to see that is the best that they can do at that time, given what, it may be. Well, Sister Nghiem, you translated the word inadequate. It may not be what we would hope, but it's the best that, given the conditions we have. And sometimes even it was needed to, as a strategy in that moment, to protect ourselves, and that was also said. When we find the practice, and we learn that it's possible to see all the seeds as neither wholesome or unwholesome, but it's about the way we relate to those seeds. So if we're able to, a bit like the answer concerning the suffering of the drowning, if we're able to relate to that seed, be it anger, be it sadness, frustration, with we have the mindfulness energy there, we can be stable, we can embrace that seed and take care of it, be with it, with compassion and with awareness, and stay stable. Then, in fact, that so-called unwholesome seed, sometimes we do use the term unwholesome, but it's maybe not always helpful. But so we need to be careful not to get caught in these words, because that so-called unwholesome seed becomes very amazing, because you're taking care of it. So, for instance, anger, which in the past has brought you and other people suffering because you expressed in such a way and then you regretted so much, or you suppressed it and you got sick. In this way, when you relate to it with love, mindfulness, awareness, and stability, it becomes what we call the mud, becomes the lotus. this seed starts to show you things that you are really useful about yourself, about what you truly need. These seeds can get you in touch with, in fact, maybe a deep aspiration, maybe a deep longing, and you get a kind of wisdom about yourself that you couldn't have got if you had just always ignored the sadness or always ignored that pain, and you always put it aside. So then these seeds become a source of wisdom for you, a source, and yeah. And we get to see more clearly why we have done like that in the past, so we can have more compassion for ourselves. And we also get to have more compassion for other people, because we see then that their behavior also, okay, I get it, because I too would have done that, or that's behaviors coming from not being able to handle the seeds when they manifest. So, on the one hand, just to remind what Phap Khoi shared, there is a practice of watering the seeds that we know are beneficial and are helpful. There is a practice of not aggravating the seed of anger and feeding them. But at the same time, there is also a practice of looking into taking care and, if you like, examining, being curious about, but only if you have you, as I was saying before, not to get overwhelmed with it, so you become it, but rather so that you can really learn from it and be with it in a way where it can transform in a beneficial way. So that is an offering to that question. Thank you so much. Basically, the overall, the question is about non-dualistic approach, and I think that's really a key fundamental aspect of the Buddhist teaching. So we don't create a battle in ourselves between good and evil. Yeah. Thank you.
Dear community, right now I'm in university, and because it's like a very busy and stressful lifestyle, I've faced some problems regarding friendship and holding on to feelings of love and peace with regard to more toxic friendships. And my question pertains to one of the lines from the sutras we read yesterday, which talked about 5 ways to end anger. And one of the lines said that with people who are unkind in every way, or similarly, we should seek to see either the best of them, or that we should give them our kindness, so that, because in a lot of ways, these people, they can't find the way to happiness without other people showing them kindness. And that resonated with me, particularly because it instilled in me a sense of responsibility for the state that I'm in with my mindfulness and with peace and kindness. Yet, when I go out of Plum Village, I meet friends or people who increase my suffering because of their own, and because of their desperation, they continually seek me out to, in a way, end their suffering. But instead of, I don't know if I'm able to be helpful towards them. Perhaps I'm not ready for it yet, or a lot of times they inhibit me from being able to spend time and care for the ones that I love. And I'm wondering what are the realms and limits of our responsibility to help these people? What is the balance so that we can do it without increasing our suffering exponentially, and not being able to be present for those who we care about?
So, dear friends, just quick summary. So, our friends is asking when she have friends who are not very good, not very nice in every other ways. A person who is not nice like that usually don't have friends. So this is one way of interacting with those who are like that. So then if you want for her to help these friends, it's very difficult, because where is the limit? When you're with these friends, then you don't have enough time or the energy and the strength to help others. And also sometimes you may not even have the strength to help them, but you do care and have compassion for them, because they are the one that really is suffering. So what is the balance?
I guess just one other thing that I want to clarify is that sometimes they may be people you meet who seek you out and would like to be your friend, but you're afraid that this reciprocating this friendship instead of shutting it down would be toxic to you, or you don't have time for it and you have to go out of your way to make time, and it's in your capability, but it would detract from the other ways that you can be more mindful, I guess.
Is part of the question also just how to say no skillfully? Is it kind of how to be kind but have your boundaries? Yeah. Yeah. So it's just be able to create boundaries with friendships, and so that you can take care of your own needs and not lose your time too much, and also not absorb too much of the things that are not beneficial. Toxic was the word. Sister Thang, Nghiem?
Thank you for your question. And I remember that when I was in school, how I love my friends, how I treasure friendship, how I took refuge deeply in my friends, and they are still in me. I remember them, and then whenever I recall the memories I had with them, I feel so warm, and it's really give me a lot of energy to go forward, to whatever I do. When I eat, sometimes I eat for that wonderful friend of mine. And your question also remind me of some of my friends, and they were really toxic. And have to confess that there were times that I tried to run away from them. When I saw him or I saw her from afar, I would turn here quickly because I was afraid. But you're not. You are here asking this question, you're strong. Because you know that there's something that we can do. You care for them. You call them friend of yours. Of course, knowing our limitation is really important. Our time, our energy, our capacity to help them is very important. But I say that please keep that love in you for them. And love is really powerful and give us a lot of strength to cultivate, to live for. Again, I would encourage you and me and our brother and sister to enjoy the practice, to embody the practice, so that we can solidify our strength, our love, have more solidity, so that we can embrace them, and also to enjoy the friendship with them. I found that when I returned to a friend that I tried to run away from, there was time that I didn't know what to do, but she called me on the phone and said, I want to see you. And I said, and I tried to find out that I'm busy and doing something. And then he said, hurry, I need to know your answer. I want to talk to you now. And I said, okay. And she said, you say okay. And then she knocked at my door. And I was thinking, okay, come. And just sat there with her as she just poured out everything in her heart. She didn't ask any question. But after that she left. She brought me some good cookies. And then she left. I didn't have to do anything. Just enjoy the cookie. And then she's still in my heart. Sometimes just like that. So the word that we put like toxic sometimes abandon us, draw us back instead of coming forward. We become passive because of our thinking, it's toxic, it might do harm to me. So we become passive, always try to find something, what can I do, what should I say? But in this case, with the strength of the mindfulness energy and concentration, we know that we recognize her suffering, her pain, or her toxic, where do they come from? And as a meditator, besides school and work, you have time to meditate for yourself, for your loved one, and also for friends who we put it in a quote called toxic. But you have the love, you want to love, you want to understand them or her, then maybe we investigate a little bit where these come from, her toxic, her suffering, her pain, and we come to understand through the teaching and the practice of mindfulness that there's so many layers upon layers of causes. Her toxic maybe come from us because we didn't help her to see the food that she consumed. We let her drink too much. We didn't come and say, let's go drink coconut instead. The toxic maybe come from other sources, many sources out there. And so be there with her and listen to her, and we identify, we can investigate and see, and then we can help. And being friends and help being friends, enjoy time with friends is wonderful things in life. So I I encourage you to of course, aware of our limitation. When we're weak, when we need time to focus more into our study, our work, or our loved ones that need our help at the moment, then we prioritize what thing to do. But keep her in our heart. Do not push her away because she really needs us. And with the community, with the practice, sitting meditation, we can find a way out to help our friends, strengthen our friendship, and then something we can call, which is very beautiful, friends forever. Thank you.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, it's time to wrap up, and it's been a wonderful session of questions and answers for all of us, I hope. And there was some questions, both written and I'm sure people that would have liked to come up that we haven't had a chance to address. So I hope the person that asked the question about frustration can practice to take care of that seed of frustration and see what it has to offer them in terms of wisdom, and maybe bring the question and the other questions, including the question about separate self and no birth, no death. The no separate self, and does that mean we don't have a soul? So that may be a question. These kinds of questions very important to us. We can bring also to the Dharma discussion this afternoon, and get the collective energy there to people. Everybody has a lot of experience that they can shine light in different directions, in different ways on these questions. So thank you for your practice, for listening deeply, to be a very good concentration energy for these questions to be very meaningful for us. And so now invite 3 sounds of the bell. Thank you. The next activity will be walking meditation, a little bit still in the mist. And so we will gather at the bell tower for that. And there may be some announcements. So